there's a haunting thought many of us carry in silence. I'm falling behind. Behind in career, relationships, finances, or self-development. This sense of lagging, of somehow failing to keep up, feeds a quiet panic. But where does this anxiety come from? And more importantly, is it based on anything real? Stoic philosophy offers a radical answer. The problem is not our pace, but our perspective. When we believe we're behind, it's not time that has betrayed us. It's our misplaced allegiance to the wrong scoreboard. We've been measuring our worth by borrowed timelines, shaped by societal noise rather than personal truth. This video reimagines that narrative through a Stoic lens. Drawing on the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, we'll explore how to reclaim our sense of purpose, redefine success, and replace anxiety with grounded action. Not by changing the world around us, but by shifting how we see and engage with it. 1. The comparison trap, when other lives become our distraction. One of the most subtle forms of self-betrayal is comparison. We don't merely observe others, we measure ourselves against them, often unconsciously. A friend's promotion, a stranger's vacation photos, or a peer's relationship milestones, these become silent triggers. Without realizing it, we begin to audit our own lives through the lens of someone else's highlight reel. Our joys are diminished, our progress feels insufficient, and our confidence, once stable, starts to erode. Comparison doesn't just distort our perception of others, it poisons our ability to appreciate our own path. In the modern age, this tendency is amplified by social media. What was once a private reflection now becomes a public performance. Platforms like Instagram or LinkedIn are no longer tools for connection, but stages for curated perfection. We scroll not to learn or grow, but to count followers, likes, accomplishments. Social media becomes a scoreboard, where value is mistaken for visibility. This turns life into a competition we never intended to join. Every success we witness can begin to feel like a personal failure, not because we lack, but because we've forgotten how to define success for ourselves. Stoicism, in its clarity and timelessness, offers a direct antidote. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in his Meditations that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. But when we compare, we don't move. Forward, we hesitate. We step off our path to examine another's, forgetting that their route is based on different values, different timing, and different trials. The only worthy competition, Marcus insists, is with the self. The only question that matters is, am I improving from who I was yesterday? Everything else is noise. Seneca, too, saw the danger of inherited desires. In his letters, he speaks of how easily we adopt the values of the crowd, chasing what others celebrate instead of what resonates with our soul. We begin to seek wealth not because we need it, but because it's applauded. We aim for prestige, not because it fulfills us, but because it earns admiration. And over time, these borrowed goals leave us feeling unmoored, dissatisfied, and strangely empty, even when we succeed. This is the true cost of comparison. It replaces authenticity with conformity. What makes this trap so dangerous is how invisible it is. No one announces that they've abandoned their values. It happens slowly, quietly. A shift in goals here, a new metric of success there. Suddenly we're pursuing promotions, relationships, or lifestyles that look good on the outside but feel hollow within. And when we don't feel satisfied, we assume we're the problem. We think we're behind. We forget to ask the more important question, behind what? And who set the finish line? The Stoic solution is not apathy or detachment, but intentional self-examination. Instead of comparison, they urge scrutiny of our choices, our motives, our desires. Are we moving toward the person we want to become, or simply toward the person others expect us to be? Are we growing in wisdom, integrity, and inner peace? Or are we becoming more reactive, more performative, more unsettled? These are the questions that matter. They are the compass that leads us back to our own life. When we shift our focus from external validation to internal alignment, something powerful happens. The pressure lifts. The need to prove, compete, or perform fades. We begin to measure progress by virtue, not vanity. We recognize that someone else's timeline has nothing to do with our own. A friend's success is no longer a threat. It's just a different journey. And slowly, the illusion of being behind begins to dissolve. We're not late. We're simply returning to our path. Stoicism teaches us to reclaim our attention and redirect it inward, not in a self-centered way, but in a self-accountable one. Life is not a race. There is no universal scoreboard. There is only your path, your choices, your growth. The only person you should compare yourself to is the one who woke up yesterday. If you're a little wiser, a little more patient, a little more grounded today, that is success. That is winning. And no number of filtered posts or applause from the crowd can replace the quiet strength of that kind of progress. 2. Time is not against you. It's your greatest ally. We often think of time as something we're racing against, a relentless force dragging us forward whether we're ready or not. It slips through our fingers like sand, and we panic at the thought of wasted hours, missed chances, or years we can never reclaim. But the Stoics challenge this idea. They don't see time as a thief, they see it as a teacher. Time is not our adversary. It's a lens that magnifies what we care about, a mirror that reflects our values. How you spend your time shows what truly matters to you, not what you say matters, but what you actually choose day after day. Marcus Aurelius wrote with the gravity of someone who understood life's fleeting nature. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not a call to despair. It's a call to awareness. It's a reminder that the moment you are in right now is the only one you are guaranteed. To the Stoic, this thought doesn't create fear. It creates clarity. It sharpens your decisions. It realigns your priorities. If today were your last, would you spend it scrolling, arguing, worrying about things outside your control? Or would you give your full presence to what actually matters, to your values, your work, the people you love? In the Stoic worldview, time is a partner, not a prison. It doesn't restrict you, it invites you. Every second is a blank canvas. It's an opportunity to choose virtue, to practice courage, to speak truth, to act with integrity. You're not too late to become who you were meant to be. You're not behind schedule. That's a myth created by comparison, by social pressure, by arbitrary timelines. Nature doesn't operate on your calendar. A tree does not rush to bloom. A mountain doesn't worry about erosion. It simply becomes steadily, purposefully, without apology. Your growth is no less natural. Much of our anxiety around time comes from believing there is a universal blueprint for life. Graduate by this age, succeed by that one, marry here, retire there. But the Stoics would ask, who made that rule? And more importantly, does it serve you? The idea that life unfolds according to some rigid, pre-written syllabus is not only false, it's damaging. It breeds shame, restlessness, and self-doubt. The Stoic path is different. It says, start now. Wherever you are, whatever age you are, whatever your past looks like, you can begin again. You can live fully right now, not someday in the future. Seneca, one of the most practical Stoics, didn't mince words when it came to how we waste time. He didn't say we waste it because we do too little. He said we waste it because we do what doesn't matter. We chase things we don't need, say yes to things we resent, and stay busy just to avoid the discomfort of stillness. But busyness is not the same as meaning. Motion is not the same as progress. Time is not asking you to be frantic, it's asking you to be deliberate. Use it on things that feed your spirit, not just your schedule. So many people feel haunted by the thought that they've missed their chance, that they peaked too early or started too late. But that idea is rooted in comparison, not truth. The Stoics remind us that your life is your own. It unfolds according to your choices, not someone else's timeline. You are not a product on a conveyor belt. You are a living being capable of evolving, learning, and transforming until your very last breath. The past may inform you, but it does not define you. The future is uncertain, but right now is alive, and you are in it. Time is your ally because it is patient. It offers you countless chances to begin again, to align your actions with your values, to live with virtue instead of fear. It's not about having more hours in the day. It's about making the hours you have count. You don't need to rush. You need to wake up, to see that this moment right now is the most important one of your life, because it's the only one you can do something with. To live stoically is to live with intention, not to control time, but to flow with it. To rise each day and ask, what can I do today that truly matters? Then, to do it with your whole heart. When you begin to see time as your companion instead of your enemy, you stop fearing it, you start respecting it, and in return, it gives you clarity, presence, and peace. 3. Action over anxiety, living your philosophy daily. Thinking about life isn't the same as living it. The Stoics believed that philosophy loses its power the moment it stays trapped in the mind. Wisdom isn't meant to be stored like a book on a shelf. It must breathe through our behaviors, our routines, and our decisions. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations as a theoretical exercise. He wrote them as reminders to himself on how to live. Philosophy, in the Stoic sense, is not a classroom subject. It is a code of conduct. It is how you treat people when you're tired, how you handle failure when it stings, and how you respond to success when it tempts your ego. In our modern world, paralysis by analysis is more than a catchy phrase. It's a lifestyle trap. We scroll, think, plan, overthink, revise, and hesitate. We search for the right time to start that project, to leave that toxic relationship, to speak our truth, or to change our habits. But the perfect moment is a mirage. It moves further away the more we wait for it. Clarity isn't a precondition to action, it's the result of it. As Epictetus wisely said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. The invitation is clear: less talking, more doing. Don't perform virtue, practice it, live it, feel it in your muscles. Too often, anxiety masquerades as preparation. We tell ourselves we're not ready, that we need one more book, one more piece of advice, one more signal from the universe. But feeling stuck is often a sign that we've paused for too long. It's the weight of unacted intentions that builds restlessness in our minds. The way out isn't more thought, it's forward motion. Even if you're unsure, even if it's messy, because action, however small, creates feedback. That feedback creates learning, and learning, in turn, builds clarity. Feeling behind in life is usually a side effect of too much contemplation and not enough movement. You're not behind because of where you are, you're behind because you've stopped walking. But there's good news in this. The moment you act, you break the illusion. You're no longer stuck, you're participating. Each small choice, a brisk walk instead of scrolling your phone, preparing a meal instead of ordering takeout, initiating that difficult conversation you've avoided, is a powerful act of rebellion against the inertia that anxiety feeds on. Progress doesn't require a dramatic overhaul of your life. The Stoics didn't seek fame or grandeur. They weren't looking to prove anything to the world. What they valued was excellence, repeated quietly. A kind of moral consistency that doesn't depend on mood or circumstance. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." So much of our dread is self-manufactured. But when you move your body, take a step, or face a task head-on, that fog begins to lift. The act of doing cuts through imagined fear like a blade. If you commit to just one deliberate action today, just one, you are no longer behind. You are present. The size of the act doesn't matter. Whether it's sending an email, journaling your thoughts, or reaching out to a friend you've lost touch with, what matters is the intention behind it. In that moment, you are not passive. You are aligned. You are engaged. And that engagement is the beginning of momentum. Anxiety thrives in hesitation, but confidence is born in motion. The Stoics knew this well. They prepared their minds each morning not to avoid hardship, but to meet it with integrity. You don't need to feel inspired to begin. You need to begin to feel inspired. That's the paradox. You're waiting for the feeling that only shows up after you start. So, start. Live your philosophy today in small, visible ways. Wake up and make your bed like it matters. Walk into your workplace with dignity, even if no one notices. Speak kindly when it's difficult. These are not just tasks, they're training. Ultimately, the Stoic life is not defined by thoughts, theories, or clever words. It's revealed in motion. Are you living your values or merely believing in them? Are you reacting or responding? Are you waiting or walking? Don't chase motivation. Don't wait for confidence. Choose one deliberate step. Live it. And let that be the proof of your philosophy. 4. Redefining success. Crafting a life aligned with values. The world hands us pre-packaged definitions of success: status, income, aesthetics, followers. From a young age, we're fed a diet of glossy magazine covers, social media highlight, reels and corporate slogans that tell us what a good life looks like. But if you look closely, these definitions are like mirages in the desert, enticing but always out of reach. Once you obtain one milestone, the goalpost moves. A new standard appears. There's always someone with more money, more fame, more validation. The Stoics saw this trap for what it was, a game of endless striving that leaves the soul exhausted and empty. Their answer wasn't to reject success outright, but to redefine it completely. To them, true success wasn't measured in applause or accumulation. It was measured in eudaimonia, the Greek word for human flourishing. Not the superficial kind of happiness that comes and goes with circumstances, but the deep, enduring sense that your life is rooted in meaning, that your actions reflect your principles, that your soul is not at war with itself. To the Stoics, this inner alignment, this peace, was the highest achievement. Seneca captured this brilliantly when he wrote, "A man is unhappy, though he reigns the world, if he does not consider himself happy." In other words, external power means nothing if it's not accompanied by inner contentment. You can have everything the world admires and still feel hollow inside. And that's because real success is internal. It's about how you live, not what you have. It's about whether you can look in the mirror and say, "I live today in accordance with my values." That's not something money can buy. It's not something popularity can secure. It comes only from you, through self-awareness, discipline, and courage. Too often we let the world define our goals for us. We chase careers that impress others. We buy things not because we need them, but because they signal prestige. We push ourselves into burnout chasing numbers that have no real meaning. But here's the truth. You are not behind if you are living in alignment with your own values. You are only behind if you've abandoned your compass to follow someone else's path, the race you think you're losing. It doesn't even exist, not if you've stepped off the track and chosen your own direction. Take a moment and ask yourself, are my goals truly mine, or have I borrowed them from culture, family, or fear? It's not always easy to tell. The expectations we internalize can feel like our own voice. But if you pause, if you really reflect, you'll start to hear the difference. One voice is loud, anxious, demanding. The other is quieter, but more honest. It says, "You already know. What matters? Stop pretending you don't." That's the voice of your values. And when you listen to it, everything changes. When you redefine success as living by your principles, the rush disappears. You stop measuring your worth by milestones and start measuring it by moments. Moments where you chose honesty over approval, discipline over indulgence, compassion over pride. Progress becomes intentional. You move not because you're desperate to catch up, but because you're pulled by a purpose. You're no longer running on someone else's treadmill. You're walking your own path, one step at a time, with clarity and conviction. This shift in mindset brings freedom. No longer bound by comparison, you can find joy in simplicity. You can celebrate quiet progress. You can build a life that may not look impressive to the world, but feels deeply right to you. That's a success that endures, because it's built on a foundation the world can't shake. Not trends, not criticism, not failure. Only you can give it, and only you can take it away. In the end, the Stoic path is not about rejecting ambition. It's about purifying it. Stripping away the noise and ego until what remains is your core, your values, your integrity, your inner peace. That's the real definition of winning. And once you see it clearly, you stop playing the wrong game. You stop chasing hollow prizes. You build something better. You build a life that actually feels like yours. 5. Seasons of growth, patience, discipline, and inner stillness. Nature doesn't bloom year-round, and neither do we. Yet how often do we forget this truth? In a world driven by constant notifications, deadlines, and the pressure to hustle, we fall into the trap of believing that we must always be producing, always be achieving, always be seen. This is not just unrealistic, it is deeply unnatural. Just as the earth rests in winter, we too have seasons where the most critical growth occurs beneath the surface, quietly, invisibly. These are not wasted times. They are essential. We tend to panic in these quiet seasons, mistaking stillness for stagnation. But the Stoics understood that nature moves in cycles, and so do we. There are moments for ambition, for energy, and for action, but they must be balanced with moments of reflection, preparation, and rest. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reminded himself that everything has its time. The Stoic does not demand that spring arrive in winter. Instead, he embraces each season for what it offers, trusting that even the coldest winds are shaping him. In fact, these quiet phases are often the most fertile grounds for transformation. Growth isn't always visible. The roots of a tree don't expand in the open air, they deepen in darkness. Likewise, your character, wisdom, and inner strength often develop when the world is not watching. Just because you're not producing visible results doesn't mean you're failing. You might be learning patience, you might be healing, you might be building the foundation for a stronger future. The Stoics knew that meaning is found in depth, not display. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor strengthens the body." This is more than motivational, it's philosophical truth. Adversity reveals who we are. It tests the alignment between what we claim to believe and how we actually behave. When we face failure or setback, we often feel shame or frustration. But in the Stoic view, these moments are not failures. They are invitations. They invite us to develop resilience, humility, and perspective. If we're willing to learn from them, they become milestones on the path, not roadblocks. The modern world, however, offers escape instead of growth. At the first sign of discomfort, we are flooded with distractions: social media, streaming, consumption. These are not inherently evil, but they can be traps if they prevent us from sitting with discomfort long enough to grow from it. The Stoics didn't numb their pain. They examined it. They asked what could be learned from it. They practiced discipline, not as punishment, but as a path to clarity. To them, discipline wasn't about deprivation. It was about freedom. The freedom to choose your response rather than be owned by impulse. This kind of discipline doesn't mean perfection or extremism. It means intention. It means doing what matters, even when it's not glamorous or immediately rewarding. It means showing up day after day with a quiet commitment to your values. Epictetus taught that we don't control the outcomes, but we do control our effort and our mindset. That's where the power is. That's where peace lives, not in trying to control the world, but in mastering ourselves. The Stoic secret is not dramatic change, but steady return. Consistency, not intensity, is what changes a life. You don't have to run marathons, write bestsellers, or conquer empires. You simply have to live by your values and do so repeatedly, especially when no one is watching. This steady, deliberate return to your principles is what forges unshakable character. It's not loud, it's not fast, but it lasts. In these seasons where nothing seems to be happening, remind yourself, this is part of the process. Let go of the urge to rush your own unfolding. The flower does not bloom because it's told to hurry. It blooms when the time is right, after roots have grown strong. So too, must we learn to honor the seasons of our inner life. There is no shame in resting. There is no weakness in waiting. There is only growth, quiet, patient, and powerful. Reclaiming your own pace. So, are you behind, or are you just awakening? Behind whose timeline? According to what standard? Compared to which version of life? These are the questions we must ask, because once we do, we see the truth. There is no universal clock. There is only your journey. The Stoics didn't promise ease, they promised clarity. And from that clarity comes freedom. The freedom to choose presence over pressure, direction over speed, and meaning over mimicry. This is your life, your pace, your path. And you are not behind. You are exactly where your growth begins.